Hello, my name is Matthew Paul Hemus, and this is my urban design theory presentation for the spring 2018 class. The urban theory slash book that I researched was The Regional City Planning for the End of Sprawl by Peter Calthorpe and William Fulton. Overall, the book tackled the notion of this horizontal migration or urban sprawl that has been occurring for the past half a century to um, bring it back to being a more inner city model where you've got a densely populated area that builds in the vertical more so than the horizontal plane, because with this growing population there's just not enough land for this urban sprawl to be sustainable, because you're going to run out of land. It's just you're not going to have enough land to grow enough food for all these people if you just keep growing out horizontally. So you have to bring the population back into a denser confines to give back some of the land to the agriculture and then build in the vertical to accommodate for the growing population. But this whole regional city is based around three parts: the emergence of regionalism, maturation of suburbs, and revitalization of older urban neighborhoods. The regionalism is more of the theoretical behind this regional city idea, in that you're going to take this mindset of people um, traveling far distances every day to go to work. It's more so bringing it into a regional aspect where you're not traveling that far to go to work. Say, like, you're only going like a half hour a day to work, and then you're within 15 minutes to a half hour of shopping, retail shopping, grocery stores, 5 to 10 minutes of school. So everything within your daily lifestyle is brought closer together, so that there's not this notion of uh, where you have these pockets of areas designated for certain things, and they spread out over immense areas of land that you have to drive long distances to. And then the maturation of suburbs is more of this redefining of what a suburb is. It's more than just living. You could have agriculture, retail shopping, grocery shopping, and a job market, as well as living, all within this one suburb, as they like to call it, instead of it just being this organized and repetition of housing structures. And then the revitalization of older urban neighborhoods is taking these places of urban decay and retooling them to fit into this regional city model, but also into the needs of modern society. And so, going back to this redefinition of suburbs, creating a human ecosystem is one of the main pieces to that, where you're not focusing on the individual pieces of your life in separate design aspects. It's all mashed together. So when you're thinking of this design process of a suburb, you're taking into account retail shopping, schools and education, grocery shopping, agriculture, job market, and living, all into one design process, and fleshing out all the connections, understanding the daily process of an individual on a human scale, and being able to enhance and further promote a more sustainable suburban living. And the three main principles behind this is diversity, conservation, and human scale. Replacing the the current principles of specialization, standardization, and mass production in order to generate a more healthier suburban area that will grow into these regional cities. And then policy-wise, their policy attacks land use, transportation, the environment, housing, tax equity, and education. And this is where you find that these policies help to establish a balance of opportunity so that kids who are born in a poverty-stricken family and kids that are born in a wealthy family have the same chances to become successful in life, even though their families are on a different economic scale. Because currently you get situations today where the wealthy families are able to put all their kids through private schools or find the best schools for their kids and live near those schools, whereas the poverty-stricken kids are forced into these poorer public schools or educational systems that don't allow them to mature to their full potential as the rich and wealthy do, because the poverty-stricken parents can't afford the private education, or they can't afford to move to these better school areas. And so these policies allow for everyone to be on a similar playing field when it comes to developing their own success in life. And so in conclusion, I found that planners need to focus more on the human ecosystem and not these separate pieces, while also utilizing the current precedents that are out there with Salt Lake City and Oregon and how they're reshaping the way that they're planning out the future of their cities to accommodate for the fact that you can't, the horizontal migration needs to stop, and this notion of bringing it back to a more densely populated area or just integrating more aspects into a suburban life than just living quarters. And then as a society, you need to get more engaged and you need to understand the ramifications of all these planning moves that can be made and how they affect everything around you, from the environment to your local community, friends, and family. And then understand that there's a balance with how your daily life shapes out. You might not be able to see it or completely understand it, but just recognizing that it's there is a key factor. And one question that came around in my mind as I was reading was that they're trying to change this ideology that has existed for decades called the American Dream, where all these kids today are grown up with this idea that one day they'll own their own big house on a big piece of land out in a secluded community or in a rural area by themselves. And in reality, what it needs to be is you're going to be living in a more densely populated area because there's not enough land for everybody to spread out and claim their own territory. There's too many people on this planet so that everybody can have their own piece of land. Everybody's going to have to come into these more compressed areas and then build in the vertical in order to sustain this ever-growing population we have on this planet.